So sometimes I'd do a sculpture and it'd turn out really well, or I'd do a painting and it'd turn out okay. And sometimes it just wouldn't, because I'm kind of a stubborn, headstrong sort of person. I would try and power my way through it. And the thing is that I had knowledge gaps.
Thank you, Oberon, for joining me, taking the time to do this little interview.
Lovely to finally meet.
Yeah. Why don't you tell me about yourself? Tell me about your background. How did you get to here, where you are now, where you're making these incredible paintings and you're opening up your own school and everything like that?
I mean, I kind of got into art due to video games. Like since I was a kid, I wanted to make video games, and that was the most exciting thing for me. So the options were kind of either like coding or art. And I chose the art path, and so I went to a game dev uni, which were pretty new at the time, I think, at least in Australia. Then after that, I graduated into the financial crisis, which was a whole lot of fun, and had to push really hard to make sure that all of my skills were up to scratch, but managed to finally get a job. And then I've worked in game dev for 10 to 12 years now. I've completely lost track due to COVID. But in that time, I've gotten to do a lot of different things. Like I've worked in video games, but I've also done a whole lot of visualization work for clients like Adidas and that sort of thing. A lot of virtual reality experiences, which are quite fun, like museum experiences where you get to, sit underwater due to the virtual reality and you get to see prehistoric animals roaming about, which is quite fun.
That's cool.
So, and through all of that, I've always kind of had this like exploratory thing of art, I guess. I've done a lot of digital sculpting. I've done a lot of traditional sculpting, working with like just water-based clay, learning the molding and casting and that sort of thing. So that's kind of like where like my skills have come from, I guess. Like my base level is very much a technical understanding of 3D due to the video game background. And I was always kind of wanting to polish a skill that wasn't the game dev ones. I really have always loved traditional media. I thought for a long time I was going to be a water-based sculptor. I found that with painting, I managed to get for want of a better term, a more consistent approach, and that was actually due to evolve. I'll get into that in a second. But yeah, the painting is the one that I found that due to the method that you guys teach, I could make more polished. And then, of course, that a more polished method and a more consistent approach is the one that you can do professionally. You can't be inconsistent in your work. And so sometimes I'd do a sculpture and it would turn out really well, or I'd do a painting and it would turn out okay. And sometimes it just wouldn't, because I didn't know how to transition a form correctly in the same way as you transition a gradient. And so sometimes it was lovely. And sometimes I would invest literally like over $1,000 into the molding and casting process and it would break. And I would no longer have a sculpture, it would be destroyed. And this is because I'm kind of a stubborn, headstrong sort of person. I would try and power my way through it. And the thing is that I had knowledge gaps. I could get a nice sculpture out, but all the technical side of it, it broke. And there's more than a few sculptures where that's happened. And, same thing with painting. Like sometimes I could brute force my way through color and proportion, and other stages things would turn too slippery because I didn't know about adding the right amounts of oil or anything like that, or I didn't know that why my colors were turning muddy, and of course it's because I was using too warm of a red with too cool of a blue or something like that. So like while I could brute force my way through some things through my knowledge, there were knowledge gaps in almost every single one of the other things that I played around with. And with a lot of them, I tried to find courses to fill those gaps, but it was really hard to find ways to fill all those gaps. I'd take little online courses for molding and casting, but there'd always be something that I was missing. Like you'd go through the steps and step 1 would work, step 2 would work, and then you'd get to step 3 and it's like, why doesn't mine look like that?
Yeah.
And so, I kind of struggled with getting the sculpture to be where I wanted, and I couldn't find anywhere in Australia, or at least in Melbourne, where I could fill those gaps easily. And that's what I thought that I was going to end up doing. Is I thought that I was going to be a water-based sculptor. And then I eventually heard about Evolve through Pencil Kings, Mitch Bowler's podcast, and that was like kind of everything that I was looking for in an art school sort of thing. Like I wanted that, or not very technical based approach. I can learn art history somewhere else, sort of thing. I can experiment on my own. What I need was something that was going to be like, no, you need to go through all of these steps. Here is a regimented structure that is going to make you good. Good at all the technical side, so that you don't have any knowledge gaps. Because I knew that I had knowledge gaps. And I needed to fix them. I knew that was the thing that I needed to do. I wanted to find a way to do that, and because I was working at the time, of course. And usually full-time, like I was contract work. So it'd be, 6 months of really intense full-time work. And then I might have little lulls. So the ability to sort of do it at my own pace and in my own time would mean that, some days I'd be doing a painting a week, sometimes 4, because I could fit it into that. So that's why that worked out so well.
It's fascinating to me that you see a connection between sculpting and a technical education in, say, painting. Right. Like I feel like a lot of people kind of view those two things as completely separate from each other and that they have nothing to do with each other. But you found a technical education that's filling in these knowledge gaps. And Evolve, as we know, is focused, fully on teaching, or we teach these fundamentals through oil painting, which is, using a 2-dimensional surface to make you believe that it's 3 dimensions.
Yes.
So that's fascinating to me that you kind of already had that connection, that there's something deeper about art and there's principles about art that apply to many different fields.
Well, absolutely. I mean, proportion is proportion, like that, if you're painting a face, you need to capture the right silhouette. When you're painting a sculpture, you have to look at different angles to capture the right silhouette. The big difference is that painting only works from the one angle, but then you're creating light from that angle. With sculpture, you're noticing the way that light plays on a surface and making it so that light plays in the way that you want it to. So there's the same basic principles. They all feed into one another.
I love that. So then what ways has your art changed since taking the Evolve program?
The biggest one, I think, is consistency. Unless I'm deliberately messing around or something like that, even when I am, it usually turns out all right. But if I sit down to a canvas, I know that I can make what I want to make. Unless I'm really pushing hard to explore or something like that. I know that if I have an idea in my head, and especially if I've got a photo or something like that, I can sit down and I can make it. There's not even a question of that anymore. And that's the thing that I like, whereas it used to be a thing of I'm going to try and make this. Sometimes it'll work and sometimes it don't. Whereas now it's no, I know that if I want to draw this, I can. Yeah.
And it sounds like confidence too. Just full sureness of, oh yes, I can do this. And I imagine you can, I relate to that as far as commissions and portraits go. It's you're staring at the person that you're about to paint. And you're looking them in the eye and you say, yeah, I can paint your face.
Exactly. Yeah. You know that you'll be able to do it.
Yeah. So then when you were looking at Evolve and considering it as an option, you heard about this from Pencil Kings, from Mitch Bowler, co-founder of Evolve. So what about Evolve stood out to you? Were there other, you said you were looking for technical art schools. Were there other ones that you had seen that were doing something similar, or was Evolve really kind of just on its own? What really stood out to you about Evolve that made you decide to commit to joining?
I mean, I think the biggest part was that it was fairly all-encompassing, I guess. I'd seen a lot of courses that were introduction to doing a still life, or something like that. In Australia, there was a lot of short courses around that were that sort of thing. It was introduction to doing a portrait. And there's, of course, long courses as well, but from what I could find at the time, a lot of them were, there was a lot of focus on conceptual artwork, which is not my cup of tea very much, and a lot of focus on art history and that sort of thing. Whereas I just wanted pure technical. I just wanted to learn the skill because I knew that my biggest issue was knowledge gaps. So Evolve stood out because it was going to go from the absolute bare bones. You're literally learning the most basic of rendering, and it was going to build on that. That's what, because I knew that there were gaps. if I took something where it was also just a section of an education, then I knew that then I was going to have to find whatever gaps it left out, you know?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so after you joined Evolve and you went through the program for a little while, what did you find about the program that was different from what you had originally expected? Were there any surprises in there?
I think the biggest thing for me was how small the increments were in between sessions and everything like that. Like your jumps between like one assignment to the next, the skill progression is quite small. It's a very jarring experience if you're used to doing exercises that are like, okay, you're going to draw 100 heads this month, sort of thing, and you're going to power through it no matter what, and it's going to be tough, but you're going to be better by the end. It's very, very jarring to go. It's like, no, you painted this mushroom and a cone, and your next one is you're painting a sake bottle and a piece of tape, and it's a little bit harder, but not that much harder. And each one is just a little bit harder. It's a jarring experience to go from sprinting and feeling all of the enjoyment, but also all of the pain of sprinting, to having a nice light jog. It's a completely different experience, and it's not exactly what I was expecting. I was so used to the pushing yourself through the difficult element over and over and over.
So did you like that it felt like that it forced you to slow down, or do you wish that it would have gone at a faster pace for you?
It's a very hard question to answer.
Yeah.
Because obviously it got the results that it did.
Uh-huh.
But I actually like the difficulty. I like pushing myself. I've always been kind of a stubborn person who wants to like accomplish the difficult thing. But it's also probably what got the results that it did. Because if you do the really difficult thing all the time, you're going to burn yourself out. And if you go too difficult, you might not actually be learning correctly. You might be you might be making little concessions for yourself quite easily because you're doing the difficult thing. If you're not great at drawing faces and you push yourself to draw a face and it's kind of off, but you got most of the way there, you'll be happy that you draw a face. There's most of the way there. But if you go with the slower method, then you learn to accept, or you learn to not accept something that's not working. So drawing that face that got 80% of the way there, it might have gotten you like up in skill a decent amount. But it might also train you to like accept, 80%. So pros and cons to both sides. I personally think that there's benefits of both. And personally, I would have preferred that it went a little bit faster, but that's just because I am stubborn and like to try and push myself,
Yeah. That's great feedback. That's really fascinating. Yeah, because it's like, it's almost challenging to force yourself to slow down and to paint like a simple still life to the absolute best of your ability, right? It's like forcing yourself to be patient like that. Very interesting. That's good feedback. I appreciate that. So what encouragement or advice would you give to someone who just joined the Evolve program?
The main two would be, one, trust the process, even if it feels frustrating. And if you can, just make consistent progress, I guess. Like, even going really, really slow is better than no movement at all. Like the thing of, if you're a runner, even if you only do like 10 minutes a day, you're lapping everyone on the couch, sort of thing. The same sort of thing. Like, even if you can make slow progress, try and make progress. Just chip away at it. It's going to work. The other big one is try to get some nice lighting, because I struggled with lighting for a long time. And the sooner that you get that, the easier of a time you're going to have. Lack of glare makes a really big difference. Correct color balance makes a really big difference. The earlier that you get, block one, it's not that big of a difference, but the glare will still be a pain. But as soon as you get into color, you really want some nice lighting.
That's a really good tip. Yeah. And so then tell me about this art school. How did all that happen?
So it's kind of early stages at the moment. So Kevin contacted me kind of out of the blue, mentioning that he wanted to expand the physical locations and that sort of thing. And so this is the first international one, to my knowledge, which is exciting.
Yeah.
And it's been a bit of a ride, to be honest, because like I've gone from as I said, I was a game dev, not a businessman. So I've gone from having to like find commercial locations, learn all of the things that go along with that. I managed to find a space in Hawthorne, and that's been fantastic. As soon as I did, the numbers shot up because I'm now on like a major road with windows, like on the ground floor with windows facing the road, so everyone can walk by and look into the studio and everything like that. So that's been a massive boon. It's been a pretty intense time, but it's been good. It's been exciting. And as what I enjoyed doing as well. Like as I mentioned, I was a lead artist, so like I do enjoy teaching. And this like means that I get to teach a bit of the time, and the rest of the time I hang out in the studio and just like paint in the window. People walk past and looking at works as its own advertising. I just get to hang out and paint.
Awesome. Wish you the best of luck with all that. Sounds like it's off to a fabulous start.
Yeah, it's exciting. Yeah,
awesome.
I've pretty much always got a few canvases on the go that I make it so that my students, every single week they come in, they're seeing something new. There's a different application of the technique, or that people walking by can see. Some weeks it'll be a speed painting or something like that, and the speed paintings are the ones that, of course, stay up for quite a while because I'm layering them. And then there'll be other ones that are just like outright a la prima. It was done in 5 hours, sort of thing, start to finish, and they can see the different ways that can be pushed. It's a bit of an exciting thing for the students. Like, what was this week? How'd you do that? And over time, when they start to actually get all those skills themselves, they'll be able to explain, okay, I was actually mixing this technique with this technique while focusing on X.
Cool. Well, thank you, Oberon. Really appreciate your time, sharing your experience. Again, amazing work. Really awesome what you're doing, and wish you all the best with your art school. Hey there, and thank you for watching. If you are interested in developing these skills for yourself, just like Oberon did, then I highly encourage you to join us at the Evolve program. You can learn more about Evolve through the links in the description, check out our website, watch free mini courses, get a sense of how we teach, have conversations with us in the live chat, or even comment here on YouTube, and get a real sense of how Evolve might be a good fit for you to help you develop your skills to pro level in about 1 year's time. We've got people joining us from all over the world. It's so exciting, and I'm so glad to be a part of all this. So again, links in the description. Check us out. We'd love to have you join us in the program. Take care and happy painting.